Security and bolstering ties have topped the agenda at talks between the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, and the Polish Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, in Warsaw. Scholz travelled to Poland with 12 government ministers to meet his Polish counterpart. Tusk said they discussed boosting defence cooperation, including strengthening NATO's presence on the eastern flank to deter the threat from Russia. Tusk also highlighted other initiatives that the two countries will be working on together. Now, these are the first talks of this kind since 2018. And we can get more from Jacek Koltan, a philosopher, political scientist and the Deputy Director for Research at the European Solidarity Centre. He's joining us from Gdansk in Poland. Welcome to DW. If we can start with the relationship between Germany and Poland, is it a strong one?
You know, when we take a closer look at the historical events, and especially of the very tragic history of the 20th century, that's perhaps the best possible moment for Polish-German relations. We never had the chance to experience this kind of friendship, of cooperation, and also bilateral trust in the history of Polish-German relations.
So the topics today was mainly security, defence, as well as expanding traffic and transport routes. So from what you're saying, these kind of talks, what they're talking about, are a sign that the countries really do now have a practical working relationship, because, as you mentioned, it hasn't always been that way, has it?
Yeah, in the last 8 years, we experienced, during the time of right-wing populist regime in Poland, we experienced, of course, very dramatic moments in German-Polish relations. And I'm very happy that today we have a chance to change the course and to take German-Polish cooperation much more serious than it was in the last 8 years. So it's a very good sign that we changed the course, and that the expectations are growing, and but also the dangers and the challenges both governments have to face are also extremely serious. What I mean by that is the most important problem, of course, the war in Ukraine.
So the last 8 years, as you're saying, haven't been easy. But of course, Germany and Poland share a very complex history, which of course includes the Second World War, post-war divisions. So how do both nations go about to sort of work on addressing that past, as well as working positively towards the future now?
It's not an easy, not an easy question, not an easy problem, and I think there is a great expectation in Poland that especially the brutal past of the Second World War will be taken much more seriously in Germany, and as we can see, German government opens an initiative of Polish-German House in Berlin, trying to create a place or cultural institution that will deal with the uneasy past, and especially the dramatic events of the Second World War. One cannot forget over 17% of the entire population of the country was killed during the Second World War, which is a huge loss. Still present in the memory of Polish citizens, and for sure it's a very good step to do something with it, and to show that both sides really care about perhaps not solving the problem, because there is no chance to solve it, but just to deal with the issue of the past, and to think about how to change the course, also political course of the events, and to open a horizon for much more prosperous and much more interesting and cooperative future.
Jacek Koltan from the European Solidarity Centre in Gdansk, Poland. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
More on this, let's bring in our chief political editor, Michaela Küfner. Michaela, how are Chancellor Scholz and Prime Minister Tusk planning to improve cooperation between Germany and Poland?
Well, the short answer is a lot of bilateral working groups. That press conference between the two is just drawing to a close with questions there. And following this meeting with a dozen German ministers and a dozen Polish ministers on the other side, this bilateral cabinet meeting, they published something called the German-Polish Action Plan, 40 pages of mainly announcements of what will happen in the future, of better cooperation. This sounds like something that should be a given between the two countries, but after the peace government pretty much ran an anti-Europe and particularly anti-Germany course, this is a tangible sign that under Donald Tusk, the very European-friendly former president of the European Council, this is a new era of German-Polish relations, but I have to say with very little concrete outcome to show. And this begins with the first chapter on the historical context, and that points to what Donald Tusk is up against if he wants to cooperate with Germany in the future. A lot of sentiment, a very broad sentiment in Polish society that Germany still owes Poland big time. That's why reparations was once again a topic. But to stay with what the concrete outcome is, bilateral working groups on things ranging from the environment to that eastern flank that Poland represents within NATO towards Russia. The two countries want to work together before they put proposals on the table within NATO.
Now, Poland borders Ukraine, of course, and the war in Ukraine is a key point in discussions between the German and Polish leaders, I understand. What have you heard from Scholz and Tusk on that point?
Well, that's where both countries really completely see eye to eye in terms of backing up Ukraine for as long as it takes. That's what both have said. The Polish side, of course, having in the past been the one of warning of Russian aggression, something that was not heard by the past government here in Germany, where Olaf Scholz was already the vice-chancellor. Now, here, this really, the joint paper also reads like a list of pressure points ranging from Ukraine, where both reiterate that they will continue to back Ukraine, with, of course, Germany ruling out sending that cruise missile system that Ukraine so badly wants. Taurus is the name. At the same time, there's mention of Belarus also being a huge concern, particularly also for Poland. But again, we won't see Germany and Poland have separate takes on that. They vow to work within the European Union and within NATO in pushing further to keep Europe together, because this is the added pressure that's now coming from that first round of French elections. It will be more difficult to have French President Emmanuel Macron completely on their side, not because he thinks otherwise, but because France will become more difficult for him to govern, most likely. And here there's now more of an emphasis on the German-Polish axis rather than the Weimar Triangle, which includes France.
Michaela, thank you so much. Our chief political editor, Michaela Küfner.